of the beginning, of the end, of the affair, of state, of perfection, of a method, of payment, of benefits, of a diet, of pulses, of rhythm, of the rain, of ashes, of a bonfire, of leaves, of a branch, of government, of the nation, of millions, of pieces, of music, of the spheres, of influence, of drugs, of choice, of weapon, of mass destruction, of property, of a substance, of value, of the coefficient, of expansion, of the internet, of things, of beauty, of form, of a question, of scale, of a map, of the location, of a fracture, of the spine, of the volume, of an announcement, of the winner, of a game, of consequences, of inflation, of a ball, of thread, of the narrative, of a voyage, of discovery, of the source, of heat, of the moment, of clarity, of line, of sight, of land, of the free, of charge, of a particle, of dust, of the road, of excess, of joy, of creation, of the universe, of discourse, of power, of attorney, of record, of employment, of staff, of the institution, of marriage, of convenience, of a product, of the matrix, of cartilage, of the nose, of a horse, of the year, of coronation, of the king, of hell, of a mess, of pottage, of lentils, of all kinds of fallacies, of presumption, of equality, of outcome, of the vote, of confidence, of ignorance, of the law, of buoyancy, of water, of crystallization, of the idea, of a university, of technology, of the future, of work, of the spirit, of the rules of engagement, of a couple of minutes, of the meeting, of styles, of architecture, of a database, of genomes, of the bacteria, of the eye, of the beholder, of a picture, of health, of the workers, of a company, of friends, of the family, of the victim of impersonation, of an officer, of the peace, of mind, of a killer, of sheep, of the fold, of a page, of the journal, of publication, of results, of a test, of purity, of tone, of voice, of a singer, of songs, of degrees, of separation, of layers, of bark, of a seal, of approval, of transfer, of papers, of adoption, of a convention, of naming, of parts, of a fraction, of a turn, of the screw, of a jack, of all trades, of shares, of the profit, of sale, of the century, of humiliation, of prisoners, of war, of independence, of the director, of a play, of signifiers, of identity, of the thief, of a purse, of lips, of a wound, of the chest, of drawers, of samples, of wallpaper, of a room, of an inn, of court, of appeal, of the genre, of horror, of isolation, of a hazard, of the job, of editor, of a review, of the department, of administration, of a network, of roots, of a tree, of life, of the battery, of guns, of the fleet, of foot, of a column, of figures, of speech, of children, of the revolution, of a wheel, of a cart, of straw, of the threshold, of materiality, of the sign, of stress, of a syllable, of the name, of the inventor, of photography, of mountains, of a range, of techniques, of massage, of the head, of steam, of a kettle, of fish, of the sea, of tranquility, of solitude, of the soul, of discretion, of the management, of risk, of extinction, of species, of birds, of the air, of mystery, of consciousness, of the importance, of conservation, of energy, of a wave, of sound, of a cry, of dereliction, of duty, of disclosure, of the salary, of the driver, of a train, of events, of the last decade, of the rosary, of beads, of sweat, of the brow, of a hill, of beans, of coffee, of poor quality, of service, of proceedings, of the society, of the spectacle, of suffering, of a patient, of the doctor, of philosophy, of language, of a poet, of the left, of a centre, of a galaxy, of stars, of the show, of strength, of feeling, of anxiety, of anticipation, of the end, of the beginning, of the end, of the beginning, of the end, of the trail, of devastation. Thank you.